It would seem that in her rage, Nancy Pelosi made one of her biggest mistakes yet. Now, we all know impeachment was a big mistake, and later today, Donald Trump is likely, well, in all likelihood, going to be acquitted, taking a huge victory lap and claiming he's exonerated. But last night, during the State of the Union address, Donald Trump was whispering sweet nothings into our ears, telling us of this beautiful country and booming economy, national security, and many other great things, including the new trade deal, the benefit to farmers. And very often he got a standing ovation from Republicans, and periodically Democrats actually did cheer for him, especially as he honored many of our servicemen. But Nancy Pelosi, in her rage, shredded Donald Trump's speech as he closed his State of the Union address. What this did was shifted the entire conversation from Trump's speech to her rage. Of course, over on Democrat echo chamber social media, they're praising the move, saying, aha, all of Trump's talking points, now they're being shifted away. And the news cycle is no longer talking about what he was saying. And now they're talking about Nancy Pelosi. And sure enough, I've even seen some conservatives say the same thing. We should be talking about Trump's achievements in his speech, not Pelosi. Don't let her take the narrative. They're saying she emasculated the president behind him. Well, here's the big problem. You see, the talking point the Democrats needed was that Trump was lying. In fact, it's what they tried using in the first place. But now there is no opportunity to refute what Trump said. Let me paint you a picture. Me and my friends are all sitting here listening to the address. We're giving commentary. We're cracking jokes. But for the most part, we're saying that's a good thing. Trump's saying good things. And we're all fairly, moderate. Well, there's some conservatives here, but, me and my buddy are fairly, lefty. And we're kind of like, these things are not bad things. Trump's saying he's great things. The unemployment is down. 72% of new jobs went to women. That's amazing. And the Democrats wouldn't clap for that stuff. So when Nancy Pelosi ripped these things up, the conversation, the opportunity to address what Trump had said ceases to exist. Let me show you an example. I have this story and we'll read a little bit. You can see how many shares it has. The Hill reporting Pelosi rips up Trump's speech at conclusion of State of the Union. But let me just show you how nuts these people are in praising Pelosi for doing this. My immediate reaction. I tweeted, Pelosi shredded Trump's speech. Seriously, F these people. What is wrong with them? It's got 3,428 retweets. Now, the reason I said that is because I was genuinely shocked. That's my legitimate reaction. Trump finished his speech. We're talking, in the studio about how we hear all these great things for Trump. And what did I say? And what did my friends all say? Well, of course, it sounds good because Trump is telling you all the good things. Where's the rebuttal? Where's the counter? Where's the criticism? Of course, if Trump's going to give you a speech, you're going to like what he has to say. That's the point. Not everybody, of course, but at least most of it will sound good. Well, thanks to Pelosi, that was it. Instead of us actually having a conversation about Trump's talking points and whether they were true or not, now we're talking about Nancy Pelosi. And that's exactly what Republicans needed. This means that Donald Trump was able to whisper sweet nothings into your ears without criticism, without pushback. Instead, we saw Nancy Pelosi throw a temper tantrum. And that doesn't make her or the Democrats look good. It makes them look petty. Take a look at the first response. And to Omar Badar, who responded, much respect. I appreciate that he was actually trying to stay on point. He said, what's more upsetting to you, the meaningless theatrics of the opposition or the dozen plus false or misleading statements the president told the American people? He then linked to a story from the New York Times. I think these two tweets exemplify exactly why Pelosi made a huge mistake. At least some people who are critical of Trump are trying to stay on message. Trump told you all these good things. Please let me counter what he said. My genuine reaction was not that. He asks me, what's more upsetting to you, the lies or the theatrics? I'll be completely honest. The theatrics. You know why? Because Trump says things, and I have no immediate reason to assume the data points he was giving on unemployment or anything or otherwise were necessarily wrong. It doesn't mean I trust him. It means he said a thing, and now it's your turn to come out and tell me otherwise. Also, in Trump's speech, he praised servicemen, and he reunited a family with someone who was deployed. I mean, those things had nothing to do with facts or anything. It was heartwarming to see the now Brigadier General, the last Tuskegee Airman, stand up and salute while everyone cheered for him. That was heartwarming. Nancy Pelosi ripped that up too. So of course her shredding the speech was shocking. There were mourning families there. She ripped that up too. So yes, I will fully admit, after Trump said everything, me and my friends were talking about whether or not he was only telling us the good stuff. And now we're not talking at all. And I realized it this morning when I see the top trend on Twitter. Pelosi tantrum. I find it funny. It's not, praise to, Pelosi. It's most people being like, wow, she had a temper tantrum. And what we see from these two tweets is that my reaction was nothing to do with Trump. There will not be a conversation about what Trump said being true or false. Every network is probably going to run wall-to-wall coverage of Pelosi's reaction. And she said something like it was the appropriate thing to do, considering the alternative, which is what? Well, first, let me show you this. United States trends. Pelosi tantrum, #1 in the U.S. Well, Donald Trump himself is tweeting about it. But we can also see unbecoming. And Nancy the Ripper. Nancy the Ripper is probably both positive and negative. Unbecoming, for the most part, is negative. And there was another trend popping up that was, Nancy Pelosi rocks or something like that. But it was only a few thousand tweets. So unbecoming in 26,000. But the #1 trend in the U.S. is Pelosi tantrum. They have successfully allowed Trump to say whatever he wants. And now no one will ever think twice because she shifted the narrative. Get it? Now Trump was able to say all these great things to everybody, and that's all we'll hear of it. Let me show you this, the White House tweet. They said, Speaker Pelosi just ripped up one of our last surviving Tuskegee Airmen. The survival of a child born at 21 weeks. The mourning families of Rocky Jones and Kayla Mueller. A service member's reunion with his family. That's her legacy. You can criticize the president, but now the space has been taken away because Nancy Pelosi was angry. And what do you think Democrat bubble social media is saying? They're praising her for doing it. Let me show you something. The #1 post on r/politics, and this is like a really good example of what's wrong with Reddit. You'd think r/politics would be a space for people to actually engage in politics, but it's not. The Donald, where people actually support the president, is quarantined for dubious reasons. And r/politics, which has a lot of the same nonsense, and is extremely partisan, is one of the most prominent subreddits on the platform. Here we see the first post. When asked about ripping the speech, question, why did you tear up the speech? Pelosi, because it was the courteous thing to do. It was the courteous thing to do considering the alternative. The next comment, it was a clever move. Trump just held a State of the Union speech, and the only thing the media is talking about is Nancy Pelosi. She hit him right where it hurts. That's all I'm seeing in Australian media. I can't say it on YouTube. I'm not even kidding. My friend who has no interest in American politics just asked me who Nancy was and what was she ripping up. That's Nancy, the patron saint of shade. Bugger me was not expecting this. Here's another one. It's even better when you consider Trump's reaction, which is to stand by cluelessly staring off in the distance as the woman behind him emasculates him on national TV. Oh boy, is faux news ever going to be busy today. I wish he'd do another 20-minute long call that has the couch crew itching to let him get back to work, sir. Let me collapse this and see what the next thread comment is. I like this is making bigger news than anything Trump had to say. He lied for 2 hours. This is not news anymore. And there it is. Everything Trump said went into the ears, the hearts and the minds of the American people. And then Nancy Pelosi stopped the conversation. They're convinced Trump lied. That was their talking point. Now they're praising that it will never come up in the media. Look, man, when I'm talking to my friends and they're saying what Trump says sounds good, and they walk away and that's all they heard, Trump just won. I can't believe any of these people. This is absolutely absurd. Here's a GIF of it, I guess. Did anyone else notice Trump sign an autograph to an old guy with a literal stack of money popping out of his shirt pocket? And then he says, I've been informed they're fake $45 Trump bills, which I don't, it's funny. So there was a guy who had $45 bills, Trump's, 45th president, and it was like sticking out of his pocket and Trump signed them. Here we go. This is great. Jesus, the pro-Trump responses to this on Twitter. They're clutching every pearl on the hemisphere and popping the global monocle supply over how disrespectful this was. Have these people ever encountered even 2 unscripted sentences by Trump? Holy S. I can't even fathom the cognitive dissonance here. They say Trump laughs about grabbing women's genitals. A woman rips up his words and she's the one being told she's rude. Here's the next one. When you get down to it, it's really just about her being a woman and him being a man. Trump's a man and he's rich, so he's allowed to do what he wants because he's a stable genius TM. And he knows best. Pelosi's a woman, so she should know her place. Okay, literally no one said that. That's how they see the world. No, they don't. It's the same mentality they apply when calling African Americans uppity. They see someone they believe deserves to be downtrodden, expressing any form of attitude or disrespect toward their authority figure, and it blows their minds. Let me stop you right there. This is what's funny to me. They live in a bubble. You know, as it's come up many times, you know, Jack Dorsey mentioned on the Sam Harris podcast, it came up with Rogan last year when I was on his podcast with Dorsey, left-wing journalists were only following left-wing journalists and conservative journalists were following both. I tend to follow both. These people have no idea what's really being said. I'll tell you this. I talked to a guy who lives near me who voted for the president, and he complains about Trump's attitude. You look at the polls Fox News does or the man on the street interviews, and people say things like, you know, they'd vote for Trump. They just wish he wasn't such, you know, a boorish old man or a braggart or crude and crass. Everybody criticizes Trump for his attitude. Now, his diehard supporters love it and cheer him. You can criticize them, but that's not the 63 million. That's the smaller handful of really diehard, you know, Trump can do no wrong people. Whereas most of the Trump supporters are critical of him to a certain degree, but understand that for the most part, you never completely agree with the president. And now we're looking at Nancy Pelosi, who's offered up no real solutions to any of the problems the country is facing, other than to constantly complain about the president. Here's my favorite piece. Here's my favorite bit about all of this. I've never been a big Trump supporter. Never. I'm ambivalent for the most part, and I kind of don't like the guy, and that's where I've always been. All right. I laughed when he won, but whatever. It's another president. I've criticized him for his behavior. I've criticized Andrew Yang for calling him a fat slob, and I will criticize Nancy Pelosi right now for tearing up that speech. Yet they act like it is only the die-hard Trump MAGA zealots who actually care about this. This is why they will lose. In the real world in America, regular Americans were sitting on their couch, you know, eating nachos, ordering a pizza, whatever they were doing that night. Maybe they had fried chicken for dinner, and they watched Donald Trump say all of these beautiful things. Now, everything Trump said wasn't great to everybody. Some of the things he said probably made some people not so happy, but he talked about some great economic stuff, and regular Americans are going to love that. They're not sitting there screeching about, you know, Trump's behavior. They're not diehard Trump supporters, the regular Americans who heard great things and then saw standing behind the president after all of the good things he promised and accomplished, Pelosi tears it up. Imagine if you're in the Rust Belt, you know, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania. These are states that voted for Trump. Imagine you're in Michigan and Ford is bringing back that plant. These are a lot of people who don't care about politics. I went to a furniture store. Okay, we set up this new room, this new podcast show. And the saleswoman told me last year was the best year of her career in terms of how much money she made, the sales she was doing. And she was not super political. She didn't know a whole lot about it. So imagine this. These people who don't pay attention to politics, who don't know about what Trump is promising or otherwise, are now being told first that he's a liar. The economy isn't doing well. The Democrats get on stage and say it's not working for everybody. Well, it's working for most. Wages are up. The economy is growing. Record low unemployment. Yeah, things are working out for people. But they tell you it's not. Okay, I'm pretty sure you tell that saleswoman who just told me she made more money last year than any other year in her life. And that's not the first time I've heard that from other people. They say business in 2019 was amazing. You tell them the economy is bad, and they're going to look at you and say, I don't know about all that. But then the only real opportunity you had was to call out the president on anything else he said, but Pelosi decided to take it all away. Pelosi, in her rage, that's what she did. So it's funny to me to read these comments on Reddit where they absolutely believe it was the smart thing to do. And that's why they lost in 2016. That's why there was low voter turnout in Iowa. Did you guys know this? Have you been following my commentary on this? They were talking about all the record voter turnout Iowa was going to see, that it was going to surpass that of 2008. And they needed record turnout in order to beat Trump. Instead, the caucus is a disaster. The talking points from most Democrats and most on the left is chaotic, accusing each other of cheating, accusing Buttigieg of being a spy. It is fallen apart. And what do we see now? The DNC cheated to get Bloomberg on the debate stage. They could not even handle their own caucus. They can't count votes. They couldn't use an app. And then Pelosi thought it was appropriate to shred a speech that was shifting the whole discussion to decorum. And that's what we see now. We don't see the Democrats offering promises. They haven't gone on TV and said, here's what we've accomplished for the American people. All they've ever said is Orange Man bad. In the past several years, we've had Russiagate, Ukrainegate, impeachment, and now the president's going to be acquitted. And what does a regular American see? They see a president who says, here's what I've done for you, and she rips it up. They see a president who goes on trial for impeachment get acquitted. Now, many will say, yeah, but the Republicans said no witnesses. Do you think the average American knows or cares? As they even pointed out, the guy who said, my friend asked me, who's Nancy and what did she rip up? Yeah, exactly. They don't know anything about the nitty gritty of politics like most of us do. So I'll tell you this. Nancy Pelosi made a huge mistake. She was angry. In her rage, she just helped Donald Trump. And it seems like that keeps happening. Let me end by saying it just one more time. The Democrats needed to counter Trump's speech. Me and my friends were hearing great things from him. And I said, but keep in mind, he's only telling you the good stuff. That's what he's going to do. So where were the Democrats to come out and say, now here's what you missed? Didn't happen because Nancy Pelosi shifted the entire news cycle to her temper tantrum. And as much as these people are like, haha, you go, Nancy, I assure you, regular Americans are not saying, wow, it was really great that the Speaker of the House just threw a fit. They're going like, yikes. That was my reaction. And so you want to act like it's all Trump supporters who are going, ECAD, and clutching their pearls. No, I criticize Trump for his attitude. I criticize Yang for calling him a fat slob. You get it. You get it. That's what regular Americans are going to think. I'll leave it there. Stick around. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel, and I will see you all then.